is stronger than it's ever been. Our support for Ukraine remains unwavering. And as I told our Russian counterpart, it's a while now, I said, you're seeking the Finlandization of NATO. You're going to get the NATOization of Finland.
Joining me in the studio is Angela Diffley, our International Affairs Editor. Angela, given what we heard from the Russian leader earlier today, how is this going to sit with what Joe Biden is expected to say later this afternoon?
Yeah, we do have these competing narratives, if you like. And of the two, at this stage, almost 1 year on, Joe Biden has a more compelling story to tell. Ukraine, he will say this afternoon, was invaded against all the odds, stood up to Russia. The West has rallied. Putin hoped they would be divided, NATO would be divided, the European Union would be divided. The West has rallied and defended international order. And that is the story he has to tell. Meanwhile, Putin's speech, which was intended as an address to the nation, to his own people, to the people of Russia, did not have much to report in the way of success. He was not able to say to them, we began this special operation a year ago. Here's what we have achieved. Beyond a territorial corridor to Crimea, there wasn't much to point to. Very considerable losses. That, of course, is the case on both sides, on the Ukrainian side as well. And so he wasn't able to point to that. Instead, he said that NATO had provoked this war, the West had provoked this war, and that Russia had gone in to denazify Ukraine. We've heard both of those before, so have the Russians. And yet again, he didn't give any evidence to back that up. And he said, this is about an existential defeat of Russia. That is what the West is trying to do. They don't simply want to militarily defeat us. They want to defeat Russia as an entity. Again, little to back that up. The fact is that these speeches won't change anything. They are simply two states of war, narratives at the moment. They won't persuade anybody of anything. What matters is what happens on the ground, and we're all waiting for this spring offensive from the Russians. And also, it should be noted that beyond those Cold War lines, Russia and the West, in other parts of the world, this exchange, this war is not seen in those terms at all. In Africa, in other parts of Asia, in Latin America, in many of these places, many countries view this as a local conflict and do not see either side as quite doing what they say they're doing.
Now, what is Poland expecting to come out of the American president's visit?
Above all, an assurance of the security of Ukraine, because, of course, Poland is right next door. It's the biggest of all those East European nations which are bordering Russia. Poland cannot feel secure unless it knows that Ukraine has its security guaranteed. They are pushing for some kind of security commitment, perhaps on the long lines of what the United States has, the partnership it has with Israel. They want that guaranteed. They are also pushing for Russia's assets, which has been confiscated, for that money to be used for Ukraine to build up its own defences. So that is the key thing. It is also a mark of solidarity that Putin goes to Poland, because they, of course, have welcomed millions of refugees. It's also important for investment because Poland needs to have its security assured to persuade investors that it is a good place to invest. All of those things really matter. And in terms of the United States, since all this began, Europe has changed. And Poland is a key voice in Europe. Many European Union nations did not view Russia with the same suspicion that the East European nations did. And that has changed since this. Those on the East have persuaded the rest of Europe that Russia is a major threat. Biden will want to lean into that because that helps the US spread the load.
Angela Diffley, thank you.